Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by is&nbsp, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them it is their job. I had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job, this is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and today I've got an amazing hairdresser and I want to know all about him. Today I'm speaking to Richard Ashforth. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Stuart. Very well indeed. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. As I said, I've had a few challenges with the already this morning with
technological challenges
taking off my Wi-Fi, but we soldier on. How's things for you at the moment?
They are. I mean, they're all right. I think it's a challenge for everybody at the moment. Certainly within our industry, it's definitely a big challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I'm no escapee from that. You know, there's challenges of worrying about kind of business and employees, and then your own kind of personal situations. I guess there's a lot of pressures, family pressures and things like that. So, I'm doing all right, but it's not the usual easy breezy, positive environment that we're, I guess that we normally enjoy. There's all those added pressures. So, I'm not getting quite as much sleep, but on the whole, I'm all right.
You're lucky you're getting any, mate.
Well, yeah, good, yeah.
I mean, it's had a devastating effect to the industry, isn't it? We're far from out of the woods, and I think it's the uncertainty, isn't it? Of it's sort of stopping and starting. This is the worry,
Yes.
Our friends over in Dublin and that they're just facing tomorrow another 6-week total lockdown. So it's hard to think of it, but I suppose at the moment we're quite lucky compared to that.
Yeah.
Things.
I feel it's probably going to come to us though pretty soon, if I'm honest.
It's going that way, isn't it? I think we've got Wales is going, isn't it? Ireland. So hopefully it doesn't completely.
Yeah.
But, I know from Haircuts for Homeless, like because it's shut completely last time, we just stopped overnight. I obviously couldn't send volunteers out in the pandemic, so we just had to down tools. And it was an awful feeling. But what's happened now is that I naively thought what we'll do, we'll just pick, as soon as we open, we'll just carry on. And we've had to, it took me 5 years to open 67 projects. I've actually got to reopen every single one individually, and I've got to be there in person. So it's a matter of and we've done really well. We've had lots of setbacks, but we've done really well. But then, if they do it again for us, it's going back. But I just keep reminding myself that I'm doing this the rest of my life. You're doing what you do for the rest of your life. So at some point, we'll start and be able to carry on, and then it will rebuild, won't it? So
I mean, although there's no end in sight, really. I guess or it's very open-ended. I should say there's no. Of course, there will be an end, but it's just it's not visible to us, is it, right now? So I think that's what adds all the the stress and the uncertainty to the situation, is that it's not there isn't an end date to it.
Yeah,
maybe there never will be. Maybe it's just going to peter out and turn into something that we have to live with. So I listened to something recently, and it was a theory from an expert. There's a lot of experts about at the moment. It was a theory from an expert, and he was saying that all pandemics run their course in 18 months. Really?
I don't know what substantiated it was. He said, and what they were saying was no matter how you deal with it, it's going to sort of run. It's going to do that, and it's going to take that long. Which I sort of jumped on because I thought, oh right, June next year.
Yeah.
July, we'll be open for me. We'll be ready for my birthday in July. I thought, yeah. So I didn't need a lot of proof. I just jumped on that. I thought, yeah, I'll take that one. That's fine.
Yeah. Don't question it too much. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to question that one.
Yeah. I'm joining you. That sounds good.
Yeah. So take me right back to where it all began, because you've had a long journey in hairdressing. Not too long. He's not as old as me, but take me back. When did it all start?
It started. I'm from Sheffield, so if anybody doesn't know Sheffield, South Yorkshire, and I grew up in a sort of semi-rural setting, not too far from Sheffield town centre, but right on the edge of the sort of development. Right. So I thought I had a sort of a mixed childhood, comprehensive school, pretty standard, and I decided I wanted to go into fashion, applied for a fashion degree, got a place, was playing music as well while I was a kid, all the way through my teens, was in a half decent band and took a year out to pursue that. So put the fashion degree back for a year. And my dad said to me that, he sort of got behind it. I think he was always wanted to be a drummer, actually. He got behind that and said to me, but you've got to get a job. You're not just, you're not going to be a layabout musician, was his exact phrasing. Yeah. He said, you've got to get the job. Don't care what it is, but whatever you earn, you give half of it to your mum, and then that's it. That's the deal for a year, So I had a couple of mates who were hairdressers, and it always looked like good fun, listen to music, everybody looked great, loads of cute girls. And I thought, why not? Hairdressing's great. So that's how it started. I got a job as an assistant. Actually fell in love with it quite rapidly. And my mum's hairdresser, a guy called Robert Taylor, who they still have a salon called Taylor in Sheffield. He has 4 sons that are all hairdressers as well now. Anyway, he gave me a job, and he was an amazing individual. He still is. He's still around now. He's not working anymore. He retired a couple of years ago. But a fantastic hairdresser, and I mean hairdresser, so not a hair cutter, but he used to do lots. The salon was quite famous for doing lots of competition work and stuff like that. So he knew loads about kind of shape, how to manipulate hair, get finish. His brother had a barbershop downstairs as well, so they had the whole 360 thing going on. And I sort of forgot about doing the fashion degree and continued with the hairdressing, still doing the music, still waiting to be discovered as the next John Lennon. But that never landed on my lap. And eventually, I saw actually a Sassoon collection in a magazine, and that was a bit of a light bulb moment. I suddenly realised that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do haircuts. I wanted to learn how to cut hair properly. And and so I long story short, applied to Sassoons. They were lied through my teeth about how long I've been doing hair, because I was quite late into hairdressing, really. I'd done A-levels and I took a year out as well. Said I'd been a stylist for a couple of years when I hadn't. I think I'd only been doing it for 18 months, 2 years as an assistant. So that was a sharp learning curve when I got to Sassoons. I really had to do all my training in that first sort of 3-month period when they focus on classics. Because I couldn't really cut my way out of a wet paper bag up until that point. I just used to make it up. But I'd moved to London. I'd gone all in. I'd thrown everything in, and I just had to make it work. And I thoroughly actually loved making it work. It was a really amazing period, and I stayed at Sassoon for almost 20 years. In different locations, and I was a salon creative director, and then I moved into education and started to. I was a sort of senior creative in the Sassoon schools in the UK, And then I left about, what are we on now? So almost 15 years ago, I left and started my own business, which is Saco. And and I guess that brings us up to like 2006.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, and and then with Saco, we've had the good fortune to have loads of friends over the years who wanted to kind of get involved in it, and we've opened up, about a dozen salons now and about half a dozen academies in different places all over the world. So, I mean, it's been quite a journey.
It's known for its education, isn't it? Like you're known for its education led, isn't it? What do you think of education in the UK, for instance? Hairdresser education.
That's always a tricky one. I feel like that's a bit of a loaded question in many ways. I think I think we're very good at offering education and delivering education. I don't think we're very good at receiving it or chasing it. I think as an educator, I get a sort of a bit quite a wide perspective on people that are into education and invest in it. And we're not really one of those countries that do that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I still can't fathom it. Because we've got some very passionate hairdressers. And I'm not saying that people don't want to learn full stop. It's just not a cultural thing here where people have big investments in their education,
Yeah.
So.
I agree. Compared to some countries, I think it's not so much that, people have a bit of a moan and they say, people don't want to learn, they don't want to invest. But I don't think it, as you say, it's culturally there. As opposed to like maybe some in the Far East, and people are just more like geared up for it, and it's part of what they have to have education and stuff. And some of our young people, they're just not. It's not part of what they do or they're into. But I think. If they do, if they get the right, it's like you can't put square pegs in round holes, can you? So if they get the right type of education, sometimes it can fire them up, and you're only going to get a percentage of any audience, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I do think there's certain salons and salon groups that offer really brilliant education, and they're the ones that are turning out the real talents in this country, because there's a natural aptitude, I think, in the British psyche that it lends itself to creative industries really well. I think we've got for whatever it is. I don't want to question it too much, but whatever it is, whatever creative industry, I think it's our thought process, our mental makeup as a country, I think lends itself really well to the arts, and we produce some amazing hairdressers, as much as we produce amazing musicians or artists or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So I think we're very blessed there. I think there's another sphere of our industry that would really benefit from some investment in education, and I think that's what we've got to try and unlock, and tap into that sort of that stream. I think we've got lots of different struggles. I think within our industry, we're not licensed, so there's no kind of prerequisite to have X amount of hours, study hours, before you can actually go and practice. So I think maybe somewhere that's a link there, the fact that we're not licensed, I think, sort of doesn't underline and reinforce the whole idea of education, so I don't know. I've thought about it for many, many years, and I still can't fathom it completely. So.
I think going back to like the guy you trained with, he sounded very much like the guys I trained with.
Yeah.
And I think, looking back, I don't want to be one of them old hairdressers who said, well, in our day, but in my day, it was a core part of your weekly life that you had set aside. We used to have an evening And we didn't always want to go, but you had to go. It was part of your job. You had to go. You didn't get paid. Like, it wasn't part of your weekly pay, but you had to go. To stay part of the team, you had to go. And but it was coming from above. So, and it was, as you say, hairdressing. So there was lots of competition. It was when the colour trophy used to be, you know, sort of more like the NHF competitions, you know, with the fans and the colours and, you know. But it was, you spent hours and hours, but you got that sense of achievement at the end. You know, like when I beat my boss at the Albert Hall, that was good. I come a place in front of him, that was really satisfying.
That mysteriously 2 months later.
Cocky little
beating your boss at golf, isn't it? So there's no.
Yeah, it was gone not long after. But I think, I'm not saying there's a way. I'm not saying I've got the ways to it, but I definitely think if somehow we can re-engage young people with that and make it just part of the job. And I think over the last decade, because of the financial climate, obviously as salon owners, I went through it, part of it myself. I remember that your focus is clearly, it's just totally on profit, but not even profit, more survival. And you just saw that as a few hours lost of the week, which is an easy thing to fall into, but it's not, because if you don't have those few hours, if you don't get that team up to scratch, you're not going to separate from competition.
It's a mid and long-term investment in your business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you afford that? I guess, is the big question. Yeah. I think the other side of it is we've got so many sort of self-employed hairdressers now, or independent hairdressers, or whatever. The demise of the salon team is such that it's hard to maintain that culture of kind of positive training, and how you say, turning up even when you don't want to go, because that's your kind of that's your makeup really as a hairdresser. It's all those nights when you don't want to turn up, and then you're glad you did because actually you learned a lot, or whatever it is. All that investment in yourself is the important stuff, and perhaps the onus isn't quite there to push yourself quite so hard when when you're not employed. You haven't got a boss telling you, wagging his finger or her finger at you. You need to turn up, you need to get a model, and you've got to crack on with it. So maybe that's got something to do with it as well.
I think maybe that will be a side effect of the industry going more towards self-employment and renting chairs. That as you say, like, the team isn't going to be there. So it's changing, and I think just have to be. It's interesting, to see how it's going to change. But then you throw the pandemic on top of that. it's just all the balls go in the air, don't they? It's like it's really interesting to see where it's going to go in a year or two.
I mean, everybody's running around spinning plates as best they can right now, aren't they?
Yeah. But it's something it will, we'll come through and we'll look back. Because I've done that, like, every 5 years, I look back at the last 5 years and I think, how did I get there? It's always these sort of 5 year chunks in your life, isn't it? Yeah. And you don't think you're ever going to get there.
In a different path. Yeah. Now, I hope we come out of it as a stronger industry. I think, initially it's going to be painful, isn't it? But I do hope we come out of it in a stronger place. I actually think we're, as an industry, we're really well set up to operate during this period. I think a big frustration for me is that we're perhaps not recognised as being that careful and that professional and that caring. We get lumped in with pubs and and restaurants that I think. Restaurants in the kitchen, hopefully they're following the same hygiene procedures all year in, year out, But certainly from a hairdressing perspective, hygiene and client safety is the first thing that we ever learn as a trainee, isn't it? So it's very much central to the way that we operate. So I find it a little bit frustrating that we're getting lumped in with different industries that perhaps their focus isn't isn't quite the same. But I hope we come out of it being recognised as a little bit more professional. I think we can certainly elevate our status as a profession.
Yeah,
we come out of this, and I hope that's one of the positives to come to fruition, if you will, when we finally sort of emerge from this, all these restrictions and dangers, I guess, that we're encountering on a day-to-day.
Yeah, I really believe strongly in, because I'm an affiliate of the British Beauty Council, and what they're trying to do is to bring everyone together, bring all the bodies together to make one overall body. It's not that they want to be in charge; they just want to get everyone together, and then together they can lobby government. And they've already done this massive research into it, that we produce something like 30 billion towards the GDPR. So we're right up there with industries on our own. We don't have to be lumped in with other industries. And the fact that, as you say, we've been working, we're perfectly suited to this. I mean, I'm going into homeless centres at the moment, and the way we work and operate, the way the centres operate, I feel safer. Like, I'm in a mission tomorrow. I feel safer in there than I do when I go to the supermarket. So, I think they could look to us to how to operate.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, going into a pub and you've got somebody who pulls the pint for you. So you can't move. So then somebody's got to take it from the bar to your table. Yeah. And it's only been in the last few weeks they're even wearing masks in there. So, you've got their hands, their breath all over everything, whether that's your plate of food or your pint or whatever it is, Yeah. I mean, listen, you can bang on about this all day, couldn't we? But, I think there's been lots of mistakes, I think, so far. And I just hope that there's some sense will start to prevail, and people will start to join everything up a little bit more, so it's a bit more connected, because so far it's not so much. And I think, and we're one of those industries that are really under threat when we don't need to be. I don't think there's need to be so worried about things and uncertain about things, because we've got all those precautions in place. I think if we're doing it properly as an industry, collectively, and everybody is taking their responsibility seriously, then I don't think we've got anything to worry about, really.
No, rightly so. I mean, everyone's getting used to now. We all have a little moan, but we're all getting used to wearing the mask and the visors, and we just get used to it. Yeah. I sometimes when I go into a session at the homeless centres, I'm even more like I've got everything on, Yeah. And I feel a bit sorry for myself after about 2 hours, because I'm drenched in sweat and that. Yeah. And then I think of like the nurses and that 12-hour shift. I've just done a couple of hours with it all on 12-hour shifts, and they've been amazing. And I just think it's scandalous how they've been treated. Like it's that we'll clap you one week and then we won't give you a pay rise and things like that. It's embarrassing sometimes to be a human being. Like you think, like, what on earth are they doing? Anyway, this is turning into a moan fest. So, we love Yorkshireman. I love it. Yeah. So, how are you moving forward with, like, obviously there's still some education, and how are you motivating the teams to keep going? Well, we've fortunate that we've had for a long time. We've had online education. We've had our own platform for years. So that's, we're not kind of scrambling to set up a new way to educate, because we already have the platform. So that's good. We stay as a team. We stay pretty connected.
We do lots of this stuff, Zooms and what have you, in between all the different countries and salons, the senior team. And, we try and do some education, and we've run some programs online where we're all working together, not actually physically simultaneously, but offering a series of educations and things like that, where we go around the different countries and everybody gets to take part. So we're doing the best we can. And I think in many ways it's kind of highlighted that, we can stay more connected, certainly from my perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas I used to be the one getting on the plane and going to all the different countries and doing the trainings. The other salons didn't really connect with each other so much, other than when we did the big events. So say we were doing Salon Live or something like that, and everybody come into London in October. Other than that, we wouldn't really get together too much physically. But now we've realised, that virtually we can get together weekly now. So so that's great. So everybody feels actually much more connected in that sense. I think on the ground it's a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because when we're up in the salons, we're trying to sort of manage the amount of people that are in the building, and I think training, to be fair, has fallen a little bit out of focus in our own units. So we're trying to offer stuff virtually that people can view at their own, within their own time frames. So it's just changed the face of it, and I think it's thrown up a lot of interesting challenges, and we've got some quite good solutions, I think, out of it. I'd still prefer to be getting on a plane though, and going around and seeing people in person, because I don't think there's any actual substitute for that.
No, that there's definitely a connection thing in there that you don't get.
Yeah.
And the power of a hug, you want to just hug someone,
Yeah, I mean, that more than any of us, what that brings to people, and it's that human connection is so important, isn't it?
I think this is going to be another side effect that we're all aware of, but I think it's going to go a bit deeper than we realise. It is, like you were saying, the effect on people's mental health. People are getting lonely. People have always been lonely. There's always been a problem. But you've got people who are working from home, who haven't got. I mean, I've got 5 kids and 3 grandchildren, so I'm never alone. And sometimes, sometimes I really would like to be alone. And if that rare time I walk in the door and there's no one in, I think, but there's people who haven't got that. So there's people that, even though they're working all week, but they're not seeing anyone, and they're not. So this is a massive problem that's going to keep growing. Also, I do a lot of work with addiction as well. You've got people I've been in AA for 14 and a half years, and we've got these meetings. You've got very few physical meetings, and there's people that are falling off the wagon, people having mental breakdown. So I think that it's crucial to still go out as much as possible, and to keep things going as much as possible, as long as you stay safe. Because that's the thing, we're going to end up with a nation of agoraphobics otherwise, because the less you do something, the more scary it becomes. Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I've got a few kids as well. I've got a couple of younger ones, and the youngest one, who was pre-pandemic, super physical, he is super physical, super social kind of, guy. He's 9 years old,
Oh, right.
Loves his football, wants to hang out with his mates, and run around and be outside all the time. And all of a sudden, he's incarcerated at home with his mum and dad and his sister. And he's found roadblocks And now he's not that interested in going out and playing football. He'd rather play Roblox online with a couple of his other mates, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to kick him outside, you know. Yeah. So it's just the way it's changed his psyche, you know. He's not for the better, for sure, you know. Because, you know, everybody needs a physical outlet, you know, whether it's an interpersonal one or that, you know, they need to get out there and just be outside all the time. And lockdown was certainly not a positive thing for that. No. We need excuses, I guess, is what I'm saying. We need excuses to get outside, don't we? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think because it's an interesting thing about human beings and habit. Now, habit, we're creatures of habit, and it takes roughly about 3 months generally to have a complete change of habit. If you stick to something for about 3 months, and if you think that we was locked up for about 3 months, this is where people don't necessarily have to stay shopping online and all the things, but it became a habit. So those things are going to take quite a bit of unlearning, you know. Yeah. And I think people as well, like with hairdressing, you know, you need to get out there. You need to go and support your local salons. You know, they've supported you for such a long time, and you'll be safe. You know, you'll be safe there. We look after our clients, you know, and it'll do you good.
Yeah, exactly.
So stop growing your hair, stop growing your colour out, get in the salon, and feel better.
Yeah, but it's a fear, isn't it? You're absolutely right. It's a fear for a lot of people. You know, they're scared to come out, scared to come into town, and you know. I guess that one of the positives is that all the local areas. I mean, certainly where I am in North London, it's bustling. You know, you need a mask to walk down the street here.
Yeah,
you know? And I go into town where the salon is, and there's nobody there anymore. You know, so local business, you know, I think is really booming from it, which is great. You know, community is great as well. So that's cool. But yeah, a little bit, you know, just to redress the balance a little bit would be good, and try and encourage people into town or just to get out of their house. You know, I think it's a really positive thing. You know.
Yeah, I've recently done a session in Camden. It was a student accommodation. Yeah. Obviously, no students, so they put all the homeless in there, temporary. And it was still buzzing there. You know, Camden High Street was still really, really, really busy, you know. So
yeah, that's near me. I'm not too far from there.
Yeah, it's just nice, isn't it? It's nice to be, you know, not everyone's behaving themselves, you know. But yes, that's humans for you. But generally, just nice to be amongst crowds of people, you know.
Yeah.
In a safe,
isn't it? That collective energy is cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
My wife and I were talking about festivals and things. And that kind of that intensity of human connection. Yeah. You know, where everybody's packed into a particular environment.
Yeah.
And then they have a shared experience, you know, watching a band, and everybody's close together, they're sharing the same experience. That I think that's something that we're not going to see for a long time. You know, I've still got mates who work in music, and they're saying that we're not going to see any big gigs or big festivals until 22. Now, nobody's booking anything for next year. And, you know, I think that's going to be such a massive thing. I mean, imagine when there's the first festival, it happens. You know, what a moment that's going to be. It'll be fantastic, be euphoric, won't it? Just being with each other, being together, you know, sharing something.
That collective experience, I mean, I'm going back a bit. I'm going back to the late 80s, but I used to go to raves, you know.
Yeah.
And you'd all be in an aircraft hangar or in a field. I remember being in a field. I was in a field in Guildford, 40,000 people in this field, this illegal rave. How can it be illegal when there's 40,000 people there, you know? And we parked up when we heard the music. It must be near. We had to walk for about half an hour because we could hear music. But that feeling, that like music's something. I mean, I'm not even a great musical person, but I think the energy of music it travels through you. It's like a vibration thing, isn't it? Yeah. And I think that's the thing that really gets through to people. It's a collective thing of that vibration going through everyone. And as you say, God, that first one's got to be powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be cathartic. People will be exercising all sorts of demons.
All sorts of demons, yeah. People won't take drugs on a day like that. It'll be just be natural high going around.
Yeah.
I going back to the education, I had this, I'm a bit like all or nothing, and last year we trained Lonnie, our first student. We wanted the idea of the spin-off from Haircuts Romans was the academy. So wanted to take people, because I do come across lots of young people in that position who maybe have had a start in hairdressing, and then their circumstances change, and then they've unfortunately been on the street. And it kept coming up again, and I'd be cutting their hair, and they'd say, I'd have guys who have been in. So I used to cut hair in prison. I'd have young girls or guys say, I started my apprenticeship and that sort of thing. And we thought, if we can just finish it, if we can get back to it to that point. And so I started last year with Lonnie, and we had in my head we was going to have an academy. We was going to have 100 students and that first year, the investment just with Lonnie, it was worth it, but it's something that I realise that's going to take a lot of time, and it's a lot harder than I realised. But we did manage to give her a year of education, and we've just started with a new girl now, and so hopefully at some point, we're working with Jet Training in Basildon.
Yeah, it's
where they've done the Hair Wars program, and that they're a great company. And they've given us full access. So the end goal is to sort of maybe if all these private academies around the UK, if everyone took one person, it would spread out, and we could really make a difference to a lot of lives.
Yeah.
And, I understand now that it can't be more than that, because it's very they need a lot of one-on-one attention, and often they've got their own things going on. But it's doable to do. I know now that it's doable to do one. So I think it's an interesting thing that maybe, we can talk about at a later stage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's also, like I said, there's all sorts of salons got great training programs, and I mean, that's an amazing idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an idea. It won't go as fast as I wanted it to, but it will definitely happen in some form. Now that we've started it. And it's amazing because it's all about and in hairdressing we get, because it's a young person's industry, so we've got these young people come in, and obviously I work with the homeless and people in the street, but we've also just in general life, when you've got a salon, I remember that before, is that you're getting these young people come in and they've got all sorts of background, they've got all sorts of stuff going on. So salon owners are in a great position to help people anyway, because we're used to dealing with people with all sorts of types of background and issues as well. It can be a challenge, can't it?
It can, yeah. I mean, we've had assistants over the years that have dropped out ultimately because their situation at home's not really allowed them to make that investment in themselves. They've got other priorities, family priorities, and things like that pops up that pull them away from, following their own dreams and ambitions.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've been able to bring them back and welcome them back, when things have settled down. But it's obviously gaining that independence and gaining the training and getting a skill behind it. It's without question such an amazing attribute, isn't it? It's just so much for your own self-worth and your own strength. That it's a really great thing to be able to offer people, and I think I think what you're doing with that academy program, and I think it's fantastic just to try and empower people a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'll be on your ear to help me out.
yeah, absolutely. You know that.
I know you will.
Yeah.
So, where do we go from now? I suppose because what I would probably say is what's your direction for the future and all of those things. But at the moment, I suppose it's pretty much to maintain and restart.
Yeah. I mean, actually, when I look at our business in the UK, obviously everybody's familiar with what's happening there. You know as well as I do the situation we're in. But different parts of the world it's a very different landscape.
Right.
There was business in Korea and in Taiwan, and they're not suffering the same restrictions that we are. So their life's very different. They've managed it much better early on, and they're in a much stronger place now. So me personally, I've still got a lot of opportunities to kind of to keep busy and keep pushing things in different places. Even Denmark, for example, which hasn't suffered too badly, and they're just cracking on with it. They're a little bit scared of letting people into Denmark, but so I'm actually going to go there in about a week's time.
Oh, fantastic!
And do some training with them, and So I think it is moving and it is opening up elsewhere across the planet, and I think I guess we're sort of focused on countries that are in a similar situation because that's what we can relate to, But I think that on a positive note, there are ahead of us. It will improve, and I can see that happening in different places. So,
tell me about Korea. What's it like? What's it like there?
Korea it's a funny place. It's really, the people are beautiful, and just good, wonderful nature.
Yeah.
And the cities are, super modern, incredible architecture, and it's a great place to go and visit. From a fashion perspective, it's quite different, shall we say? Especially hair fashion. I think it's quite twee. It's a little bit. It's got that kawaii kind of cutesy thing. Yeah. That's central to it. So to try and introduce kind of Western modern trends in there, it's such an uphill struggle. Yeah. So really the classics kind of do pretty well there, or you've got to have this kind of long flicky, mid-length flicky kind of kawaii sort of thing happening, which isn't my thing at all. But we have a Korean team there, so it's much easier for them to understand than it is for me.
Yeah, excuse me.
But it's a great place, and beautiful people. Food's good. It's nice. Yeah, and it's really kind of elevated itself. I think as to like the central place in Asia. Where a lot of trend originates, and I know it's a big place for market testing for Asia. So all the big brands do their market tests in Korea. Right. So you've got whoever, Gucci will launch 80 different lines in Korea. The top 40 that fly in Korea, the rest of the world will get them, So it's quite an interesting place.
I think it's been interesting that they've overcome quickly because it's about a respect thing, isn't it? That Korea, Japan, like you do what's expected of you as a sort of thing of you wouldn't want to be seen to not respecting what's expected. So hence, they were already used to wearing masks and things, but it was that thing of I wouldn't want to let everyone down. Whereas we got the British who were like, I ain't wearing no mask, and it's that funny sort of cultural difference, isn't it? That there's no shock that they're getting on.
But really, we're all going to have to adapt to that, that culture's, and almost inevitable now that, you have to respect each other. And if you've got a little sniffle, it doesn't mean that you've got, COVID, but it means that you don't want to pass it on to somebody, so I'm going to wear a mask. That's like normal.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. And the Scandinavian countries, as you said about Denmark, but I think it's a little bit different because most of the Scandinavian countries are quite, the population's actually spread out quite a bit, isn't it? It's not so condensed, like in Sweden and apart from the main city, but the rest of the population. So I suppose that's partly why they've not been affected as much.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't got quite the sort of same sort of rebellious nature, have they, that we've got here? Or that, or Spain has got, or France, or Italy.
Yeah. It's like Europe, isn't it? Puts fingers up to everyone. Cuts our nose off to spite our face.
Exactly, and that's why we're all in so much bother, Although the Italians have done an amazing job, I think, they've got on top of it.
Yeah.
Which, if I'd have put my money on one country that wouldn't have got on top of it would have been Italy, and I have to eat my words now. So they have the amazing job. Yeah,
I think they get so many things right, Scandinavia. They've got so many things going well. I mean, with education, with lifestyle. I know because of the stuff I do with addictions and things. They've got really a lot of. They seem to have a very creative and productive way of going about things. Is that what you found?
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think it's their approach to life is fundamentally a little different to ours, isn't it? And that whole approach about having quality of life and having some time and space, and I think is something that we disregard. Not that we're not aware of it, but we disregard it a little bit and don't give it the sort of the So culturally, that's the big change, isn't it? I think their welfare state, and the way they tax everybody is super. If anybody's not familiar, it's a really high taxation system. So there's lots of money in the state that can take care of people who are a little more disadvantaged.
Yeah,
and they can offer really great education, great environments for education, and great support all round because they see that social care side of things as being, key. It's central, and we perhaps don't see it in the same way. So, which is a shame, really.
Yeah, I think it's all about balance, and they seem to have that nice balance going on.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fascinating to hear you speak, though, Richard, because I had 30 years running a salon in Essex. And the thought of having these businesses in these different continents, you've got to change your mindset constantly. It must be such a challenge.
I mean, to be fair, I'd love to take the credit and say, I run all those businesses. I don't run them. I have partners in those businesses that actually run them. So, and they're local people. So I think that's really important,
Yeah.
I've never been one for, we'll take somebody. I've tried it a couple of times, taking somebody from London and putting them in, in situ in different locations. And it's never worked out very well. So I'm just blessed that I've met over the years. I've met loads of people in lots of different locations, and built some friendships up. And then ultimately, people have come around and said, "Oh, I want to be. Can we join? Can we be a part of it?" And then that's amazing for me because I then get to be a part of their environment and their world. So it's fantastic. But don't imagine for a minute I'm this kind of.
Richard Branson bigger.
Exactly, I know.
But as I said that, then I realised that part of my life, it's nothing like that. But then the other side is the gradually building up Haircuts for Homeless has been very similar because each time I set up in a different city or a different town, I recruit a team leader from that city. All the volunteers are from that area. It becomes their project. They're not my projects. We're the umbrella, but they are their own project. And because of that, it's their town. It's their town. It's their people. It's so they care about it as their own. They've got ownership of it. You know, I've got like a team leader in Croydon, Annabelle. She loves Croydon. You know, who better? Who just absolutely, she could work for the local authority, you know, the tourism board, because she just loves Croydon, and that's the thing, you know. And I've got team leaders in Glasgow and Manchester. I mean, you've got Jackie in Manchester who's opened 10 projects around Manchester, and bless her cottons. Well, every week they're shutting one little part of Manchester. She's popping up and opening it up.
Isn't it? So, yeah.
I mean, yesterday, Sunday and Monday, we were supposed to be in Liverpool. We had it all set up to open.
Oh, really?
I mean, you know, obviously we couldn't go up there, but that's the thing. It's keep marching forward, and I think that's the lesson for the future, is to, no matter, you know, no matter what way you get stopped in one place, you just move forward in another. Because collectively, everyone mustn't lose heart. We must march forward. We must help each other. We must keep our balance. You know, just talking to you today has helped me a lot, because you know, like, you're obviously a can-do person, and, you know, we need that. We need these stories of success. We need to know that you're going to Denmark and things are going good in Korea. We need that. We need so much more of this positive outlook to give everyone hope. I think that's the main thing. We all need the hope to carry on. It's
thin on the ground, isn't it? It's not naturally, we're not coming across it so naturally, are we, at the moment?
No. You know? Got to hunt it out. We need to hunt the success out.
But all those shared stories of, you know, care and success and things that, you know, they're what keep us all going, aren't they? You know. The more we can stay connected. Through things like your podcasts or however people find a route to stay connected to it, and, you know, that's the key to it, I think. You know, certainly for the now.
This has been good, because we've had all these messages, haven't we? And that we finally had to have a chat, you know, and it's a great thing. We've took an hour out, and I always enjoy this, because I get an hour of finding out about someone else, and now I feel like I know Richard, even though we've never met. You know, I feel like I know you more, and you know, I really, really admire what you've done, and I know you'll keep doing it. So, you know, thank you so much for your time today.
Massive fan of yours, Stuart. Really. I think what you do is incredible. You know, I think you're an absolute shining light for us all, you know.
Well, come and join me one day.
You're never going to stop doing it, so that's great.
Yeah.
You know, but,
no, you know, nothing will stop either of us.
I'm absolutely privileged to come and have a chat with you. That's it's you know, I think your projects, I think, are, you know, they're an inspiration to me and many people. So,
well, when it does settle, you know, July next year, when it's all finished, you can come and join me one day, sir.
Definitely. Just give me, you know, any time. I'm not exactly rushed off my feet these days.
Okay. It might be sooner than later then.
No, I'm serious. Yeah.
We'll sort something out. Well, thanks a lot, sir. I appreciate your time.
Yes.
See you again. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yes.
Bye.
Just over 5 years ago, I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job. This is a calling.